Welcome to episode 97 of the Online Course Creator Show. Today I am talking about how to attract buyers in your next launch. And I really hope this episode is going to help you attract the right people into your launch, whether that's your first launch or your next launch. Before I get started, I want to invite you to my upcoming masterclass, which is called How to Create a Money-Making Course or Program in 2025. I created this masterclass because I am sick of seeing people launch courses and not make any or enough money from them. So in this masterclass, I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. You will walk away with the clarity on how to succeed with your online course in today's market so that you can make money, create more impact, get your time back, and become the go-to expert in your niche. So you can sign up to that masterclass at loublakely.com/masterclass. I would love to see you there. So let's dive into how to attract buyers in your next launch. So there's this concept in online launches that it's all about maths and that you can reverse engineer a launch by getting the right number of leads into the top of your funnel, which is then going to result in a certain amount of sales based on your projected, so what you're estimating your conversion rate to be, or if you have already launched successfully in the past, you're going to base that on historical conversion rates. So you can do maths and actually predict how a launch is going to go, which is amazing. And while yes, it very much is a numbers game, there is no disputing that. There's something that doesn't get mentioned quite as much, and I think that we need to actually talk about it a lot more. And it's equally as important as those numbers and being able to reverse engineer our numbers and being able to predict how a launch is going to go. Because yes, the numbers are useful and they're extremely helpful, but there's something a little bit deeper, and that is about actually getting the right people into your world, attracting the right people into your launch funnel. So specifically, we want buyers, right? We don't want people who are simply just gathering information and they're never going to take action and they actually have no interest in investing. And I think that is a frustration that many people experience. They'll do this launch, they'll get this certain amount of people in, but people aren't buying. And yes, that can come down to your offer. People don't want it, that kind of thing, sure. But also it is about the people that you are attracting. Are you attracting the right people for your particular offer? And this is something you need to get really clear on. And making the shift is actually how you can switch from getting less than average or average results and start actually getting extraordinary results and start getting a much higher conversion rate, even right from your very first launch. So this is how my client got a 38% conversion rate on her membership launch, completely changing the game from previous launches. And it's how another client of mine had a 10K launch on her very first launch, even with only 200 Instagram followers and around about the same amount of people on her email list at the beginning of her launch. And she had a 10K launch. Which goes to show that, it's just not about the size of your audience and it's not about your numbers. It is about the quality of people in your world. So it's about the quality of the leads that you're attracting into your business. And it can be frustrating when you feel like you've built an audience of freebie seekers and people have no intention to buy from you, but they're just there to learn. And if you have done a launch in the past, maybe you have experienced this frustration. It's definitely something that I've felt like in the past as well. But if I am attracting freebie seekers into a launch, then I'm talking to the wrong person, and that's actually on me as the person running the launch, okay? So it's something I hear often, people complaining about how the people in the audience are just freebie seekers. But for that to happen, it means for whatever reason you have actually attracted them. So let's get clear on that. It's not their fault. It's actually your responsibility. Now, I also want to be very clear on something before we continue. Many people in your audience will never ever buy from you. Some will buy later, but they just simply have no intention to right now. And that is normal. That is okay. But some people will never buy from you. So when you think about what a normal conversion rate of 1 to 5%, 5 to 10 if you're doing really well. And then like I just said, one of my clients had a 38% conversion rate. So that is amazing. So there's definitely potentiality outside of that. But when we look at these numbers, actually it makes sense that most of our audience won't buy. And many of them won't buy right now. And when you might think, well, that's crazy. But if you think about like a physical store on a street, how many people walking past that store actually go in? And it's probably going to be around the same. And of the people that go in, how many people actually purchase? So what we're talking about is no different to any other industry. Okay, but we need to be doing our thing to attract the right people into our audience so that there are people in your audience who do actually want to buy. Because something I have seen is people that actually do have a big audience where literally none of them have any intention to buy from that particular person, even though they follow them. So the size of your audience is not always a direct reflection of how your launch is going to go. So you putting off launching your online course or your program or your low-ticket digital product or your membership until your audience is bigger is not something that I recommend, particularly in today's online world where engagement rates on social media are a lot lower than they used to be. I really recommend this launching and building your audience as you go. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but I have seen people with huge audiences and they'll put something out there and nobody buys. And it's for many different reasons. So I'm going to cover that today. So the first thing is you have to talk to the right people. And this is something that is not a new concept. However, I would say like 80% of people on the internet with online businesses are not getting specific enough. So a common mistake that course creators are making is stopping at that surface level characteristics when defining their ideal client. So you might identify their pain points, their lifestyle, their interests, and think that's enough. But here's what's often missed. You actually need to go a lot deeper than that. And I know if you've done any kind of marketing training, you would have touched on the ideal client, the personas, the avatars, and that's all well and good. But a big thing I see is that we're actually thinking, okay, well, who's the segment of the audience or the population that could work with me and who are they? And you dive into that, whereas you need to add an extra layer in there is who is actually the perfect client for this? Who is actually the dream customer? And how are they different from just the portion of the population that could have an interest in your offer? So instead, we're getting clear about who we want to work with, the type of people that we want to call in, and be specific in the way that you show up and share your message that actually talks directly to that person. And not all people with the same problem are equal buyers as well. So some people want to learn, sure, but they have no intention of spending money, of investing. Like these people, they're just not your customer, no matter how much you love to help them and no matter how much you love to work with them. If they are the type of person that has no interest in spending money because they just don't spend money on things, then you're going to have a very tough time. And these people are often going to be categorized in that group of freebie seekers. They may love to consume your content, but they're not invested. They're not invested in themselves in terms of they don't see that being worth their money to actually invest in themselves. And for whatever reason, they also don't want to invest in you. And that's where things can get really frustrating when you've built an audience that isn't converting because you've been speaking to the wrong type of person. So who is the person that you want to attract? It's not just about their struggles. It's not just about their pain point. It's also about their mindset and their identity. So does this person that you're talking to, are they a struggler or someone who is empowered to take action? Are they someone who sits in a victim mindset or are they more growth-minded and are they prepared to solve problems and is that the way they're naturally wired? And are they someone that believes that change is actually possible for them and is prepared to do the work? Or are they, again, stuck in that victim cycle, like nothing's ever going to improve, so what's the point in trying? I'm just going to give up before I even get started. So both of these groups of people, so say we've got like the victim mindset person, the growth mindset person, both these types of people might have the same external problem, but one is actually your ideal client and the other is definitely not, okay? So they're at different stages. So that's why it's so important to speak to the identity of your dream customer. And this is definitely missed a lot. We kind of think we just have to speak to everyone and we'll get more people in. But more people is not always the answer, especially if you're running like a high touch group coaching program where you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people and you're putting people in a group environment where the dynamics of the group are important. You need people that are actually going in the same direction and think the same and consider themselves to be the same type of person. So that's their identity. So when it comes to your marketing, use language that resonates with people who already see themselves as committed, like they know that they're committed and they maybe consider themselves to be high achieving, and they're also resourceful. They resonate. Like, say if you use those words, they'll be like, that's me. And even if these people don't have all the answers yet, and they may actually be in the same situation, and as I said, may have the exact same problem as the person in like the victim mode, their whole way of going about approaching that is completely different. And, you know, you may be like, I really want to help these people. But the truth is, do you really want to attract people? Do you think you can get results for people who are stuck in victim mindset and have no interest in moving out of it? Because that is going to be a very hard task. And life for you can be a lot easier if you actually work with the people who are ready to work with you. And also people that are in that mindset, they want to complain, but they aren't prepared to take any action at the stage that they're in. So simply put, they are not your dream customer. So this goes way beyond just your launches, right? It shows up everywhere. It shows up in your content, in your emails, in your podcast, even in your program names. So for example, my programs are called Action Takers and Money Makers. So these aren't just catchy names, they're actually identity based. So they speak to people who already see themselves or aspire to see themselves that way. So when they hear the name Action Takers, they think that's me, I'm prepared to take action. When they hear Money Makers, they're not put off by making money online. In fact, they're attracted to that because, you know, if you came into my program Money Makers, but you had no interest in making money online and you wanted to give everything away for free, then you would absolutely not go well in that program. So I want people in that program who are attracted to making money on the internet. Even if they are not making a cent right now, they're prepared to do the work to make it happen. So when I'm talking to these people and even just saying my program names, I'm talking to people who, even if they haven't launched yet and they may not be making money yet, but they believe that they can and they identify with that and they're ready to show up and do the work. And that is the kind of person that you want to attract. So I think that when you're thinking of your ideal customer, think about, you know, we've got all the demographics and the psychographics, sure, but think about how they actually identify themselves and how you can speak to the person who is most likely to invest, because it is a very key distinction. And I think this is like not talked about at all, but it can absolutely change the game for you and is a great way also to really capitalize on a smaller audience. Now, the second thing that I wanted to touch on is that you need to set the scene that you're running a business where you are going to be selling. So many people shy away from the selling. So then we just end up in the cycle of providing all this free content in the name of building an audience, but we're also training the people in our audience that we are never selling, and we're just creating that cycle of freebie-seekers, which then as a business owner, we get frustrated with, right? So you need to train your audience that you are running a business and therefore have products and services for sale, not just provide free value. Because let's be real, we all still provide so much free value. So you are a business owner, you are here to make money. And this is actually another reason why I called my program Money Makers, because I am sick of female business owners treating their business like a hobby rather than what it is, which is a business, of course. And you are here to make money because you deserve it. Doing the work you love and getting compensated accordingly is a very good thing for you. It's a very good thing for your family. And ultimately, it's a very good thing for society as a whole. So stop being just a free resource for your audience. Now, of course, you're going to have content that's for free. Like this podcast, for example, I've recorded nearly 100 episodes that you can listen to at any time and learn. So that is my free resource. So there's plenty of that in my business, but I'm still making money and I'm still offering products and services. Now, I'd like to tell you a story about a client that I had a few years ago who did struggle to move from this free content to asking for a sale. So she was in the spiritual world as her niche. And there was this real underlying belief, and this is something I've seen many times in this community as well, that it's the spiritual thing to do to provide everything for free. So she came with me to launch a new program, and she had a decent sized audience. She had been really consistent with content and weekly emails to her list for years prior to working with me. So she had shown up and she'd built the relationship and she was nurturing people in her world, all of that great stuff. But what was clear to me during our time working together over the process of her actually doing a launch was that these people loved and valued her content, but the people in her audience were not buyers by any means, because she had actually trained them, because she'd been doing this for years and years and years, where she had been showing up in their inbox every week. She never promoted anything. She never invited or made an invitation to anyone to work with her. They really just expected that that's what she did. Okay, so what we do is setting the scene for how we want things to be. So she went into this launch, which was great. She got good results, but most of the buyers, the people that actually purchased, actually were new people. They came into her world during the launch. They were not the people that were following her already, and they were not the people on her email list. So those people she'd trained them not to buy from her. And the funny thing is, these people may have been going to someone else and actually spending their money, but they weren't spending their money with her, which meant that she wasn't able to help them in a deeper way, and then they were going to miss out on that transformation that she could offer them, because the work that she did was amazing and still is. So again, this is another reason why I'm a fair supporter of not waiting till your audience gets to a certain number, whatever that number is, because there's no rule there, and just starting right now with what you've got and using launching to grow your audience so that you are making money, inviting people deeper into your world so you can actually help them properly. So you're doing that part as well as growing your audience over time. And you're also sending a message out to the universe, out to the world, that you are here to make money, to be compensated for your work. And if people want to work with you, they understand that in order to get the full transformation, there is going to need to be an investment. I really love the saying, the transformation is in the transaction. And I personally have found that again and again. If people don't invest a monetary value in working with you, they often won't get the results. They just won't value it enough to show up. And I have seen that from me being invited into things where I haven't had to pay, and also on the opposite side of the spectrum as well. So I really do believe that the transformation is in the transaction, and that when you invest, you show up and you give it your all, and you're so much more likely to get the result because you're taking the action, right? And I'm also very against offering your first round of the course for free in exchange for testimonials. I would never recommend you to do this. And I know some people do this. I have had friends that have done this. I have warned them against it. And while they may get people, and they may get people doing the work, which I think is, you're even lucky if you get to that point, because there's no real win for them unless they really, really, really want the result. But maybe you've got in great testimonials, and then the next time they launch, it completely flops. Not my clients, obviously, just people I know, because I would never, ever recommend that. Maybe you could discount it slightly for that first round to get more people in, which is something I do actually recommend, depending on your price point, but definitely not offering it for no cost at all. So there has got to be an energetic exchange of money for it to work for both parties. And this is a much more sustainable way to grow, because if you're unable to meet your monetary goals, then you don't really have a business. And before long, you're going to have to find something else to do. So if you really want to work on your purpose and your passion in this business, then this is a switch that you need to make if you haven't already. And you can spend your life building a following on social media. You could have hundreds of thousands of followers, but still not be able to make any money. Or you can have a tiny audience and be able to make really good money if you know how. So there is no rule there about audience size. So stop waiting until your audience is a particular size before you actually launch your online course or program. And it's also a great reminder to really stop chasing those vanity metrics like followers and likes, and actually build a simple system that can make money in your business. Now, the third thing I wanted to touch on when it comes to attracting buyers into your next launch is to be really strategic with your launch content, instead of simply just showing up and teaching a workshop, or teaching educational content that people can just go away and implement, or in most cases, they won't even do it at all. So in a launch, I encourage you to create a free launch event, such as a webinar or a challenge. To me, that is a really key feature of a successful live launch, particularly right now in 2025, that we need to go deeper beyond social media, and we need to go deeper beyond potentially just an email launch. Email launches have been very successful in the past, and they still can be, but I'm noticing in 2025 that there really needs to be that deeper dive with you. So that's why I highly recommend that you do have a free launch event nowadays. So a big mistake that people do make with a webinar or a challenge is that they show up and they just purely teach for the entire event. They just add value because that's what we've been told to do, right? Show up and teach everything you know for free, and people will want to buy from you just because of that. It used to be the case, maybe, but definitely not anymore. And unfortunately, it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work is because if you simply just fill people's brains with information, then they're likely to actually become quite overwhelmed with all the information that you've shared with them. And if they leave that webinar or challenge with a to-do list to complete, then they're actually going to walk away from that session or that challenge or that boot camp feeling like they need to use all of what they just learned before they need to buy from you. And depending on if you've taught for an hour straight, you could share like 10 different things for them to go and do. They're going to think that they need to complete any of that before it makes sense to buy from you and actually go into that deeper transformation and way to actually achieve the result they're looking for by working closer with you. So another thing is that they potentially never look at their notes again and then likely never take any action on it. But it might be in the back of their mind, like, I need to go back and do that. But they're still going to see that as the first step rather than diving into working with you, which is actually going to help them a lot more because there's going to be more support. Alternatively, they could also just slowly tick these things off that they've written down their to-do list from the training, thinking that they're making progress, but really they're not because you only had 60 minutes with them. And this isn't really enough time to teach them how to get any transformational result. And it's not enough time to really teach them what they need to get the outcome that they're looking for. And there's no support involved in that either, whether there is in a program or an online course. So instead, you need to use these launch events to build a deeper relationship with you and to help the people that show up to move through any limiting beliefs that are holding them back and actually help them understand what's truly going to solve their problem. Give them some quick wins, sure, but not like an hour's worth of quick wins, and then actually show them what's possible. So I'm actually going to be sharing more about this process inside my upcoming masterclass. So make sure you sign up for that if you're interested in how to craft a strategic launch event. You can sign up for that at loublakely.com/masterclass. I would absolutely love to see you there. So there are 3 ways to attract more buyers into your next launch. Not always about numbers. I mean, we love the numbers and we love volume. And yes, this is a volume game, but you are going to get so much further with less people if you dive deeper into who your person is and speak directly with them and make it clear that this is who you are here to serve. So talk to the right people and attract those people into your next launch, and your results are going to improve because of this simple switch. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope to see you on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks, course creators and go-getters. You're incredible, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe in your podcast app so you don't miss an episode. If you'd like to find out more about what I offer, head across to loublakely.com. See you next time.